Welcome to the OLV Daily Reflection for Monday, May 16th. The first reading for today's daily Mass comes to us from the 14th chapter of the Acts of the Apostles. It reads, There was an attempt in Iconium by both the Gentiles and the Jews, together with their leaders, to attack and stone Paul and Barnabas. They realized it and fled to the Lycaonian cities of Lystra and Derbe, and to the surrounding countryside, where they continued to proclaim the good news. At Lystra there was a crippled man, lame from birth, who had never walked. He listened to Paul speaking, who looked intently at him, saw that he had the faith to be healed, and called out in a loud voice, "Stand up straight on your feet." He jumped up and began to walk about. When the crowd saw what Paul had done, they cried out in Lycaonian, "The gods have come down to us in human form." They called Barnabas Zeus and Paul Hermes, because he was the chief speaker. And the priest of Zeus, whose temple was at the entrance to the city, brought oxen and garlands to the gates, for he, together with the people, intended to offer sacrifice. The apostles Barnabas and Paul tore their garments when they heard this, and rushed out in the crowd, shouting, "Men, why are you doing this? We are of the same nature as you, human beings. We proclaim to you good news, that you should turn from these idols to the living God, who made heaven and earth and sea and all that is in them. In past generations, he allowed all Gentiles to go their own ways. Yet in bestowing his goodness, he did not leave himself without witness, for he gave you rains from heaven and fruitful seasons, and filled you with nourishment and gladness for your hearts." Even with these words, they scarcely restrained the crowds from offering sacrifice to them. Today's first reading is a good reminder that sometimes we, even as individuals, can sometimes exalt people in our lives to almost the status of being gods. Small g's, of course, but people who would give overwhelming influence and power over our lives. And again, this reality is not done even consciously sometimes. We, for our parts, because of love, because of respect, because of admiration, we can exalt people to these states where they have an overwhelming influence over our lives in a way that they probably shouldn't. Because again, there is only one God, and he is the source of life and love and grace and mercy, and we should always turn towards him, especially when we're trying to understand maybe our own identity, or what we're supposed to do in our lives, or how to understand difficult circumstances, instead of trying to turn to people in such a way that we treat them almost as if they are small g gods in our lives, hoping that they can fix our problems, solve our concerns, and give us guidance. Now, with all this being said, we do need family and friends. We do need people to be in community with. And furthermore, there are many wise and wonderful people around us. But again, people also can let us down. So one of the realities of our lives is we don't exalt people because they have limitations. God does not. So yes, we need to have people around us, but we also need to know their limits and how they can truly be sources of frustration and pain and hurt in our lives if we do not understand and treat them in a way that's in accordance with what they can do. So God is to be the source of our life, our love, to be the source of grace and mercy in our lives. And then everyone around us, hopefully, by our wise choosing, can build up that relationship with God and truly help us to become more and more who Christ is wanting us to be. And again, we don't fall into hero worshiping. We don't fall into setting people up as being more important than they should be. But again, recognizing that everything in our lives, including the people around us, are meant to help us to draw closer to God each and every day. Our Lady of Victory, pray for us.